Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to update you on the repairs on our house that sustained significant fire damage and what to do next after a fire. Coming up. Hi everyone, this is Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy, and on this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be more successful. I wanted to give you an update on how the repairs are going on this property we're managing 4 months post fire. So in the beginning, as you may remember from some of the videos, the house was totally trashed. All 6 of the people that lived there lost all their belongings, and it all started with someone that left an unattended candle in their bedroom. She went out dancing, and her cat came over and knocked over the candle and burned the house out. So the insurance company pretty much estimated that it was going to cost the entire amount of the policy limits to fix the property, which was $479,000. Now, initially going in, I looked at the property and I thought, wow, I could fix this for about 40-50 grand. I got some estimates from some contractors. They say it would cost me about 70 or 80,000. But then once I mentioned to them that I had an insurance company, they wanted to see the insurance company's bid. And of course, the insurance company bid was around $480,000. So all of a sudden they were saying, well, hey, it's going to cost about $480,000, but we're going to do some new things. Instead of putting lath, which costs about plaster, which is about $10,000 per room, you could put drywall, which costs about $1,000. So you're gonna have some money left over, they told me. But they told me I was only gonna have about $50,000 left to do upgrades or do something different on the property from what was originally there. So that didn't seem like a good deal to me. It didn't seem like, if other people were telling me this would cost me $70,000, why would I want to pay $400,000 to do the same repairs? So let me go through some of the repairs we did, and let me show you some of the strategies we used to try to get the most for our money on this property. So the first thing you want to look at is, see those windows up there? We had to replace pretty much every window on the second floor because they all melted. They were vinyl. We had to paint all of the house on the upper second floor, so all of it was stained. There was smoke damage everywhere. Initially, we thought we had to replace the entire roof. I spoke to a couple contractors. They said, yeah, you got to replace all the solar panels. You might see there's a solar panel up there on the right hand side, and we're going to have to replace the entire roof and peel the entire roof off the top of the house. Then I got some other guys to come out, and they showed me that, hey, this roof is structurally sound and these solar panels weren't touched. So we were actually able to salvage these solar panels and salvage the roof without having to replace most of it. Just replace a few parts that were damaged. As for the windows, we switched them all out, and we switched them to new windows that were to code. So again, whenever you do changes to your house, you want to be conscious of code upgrades, because this house in particular is from the 1920s, and it's 2020 now. So again, it's 2020. So this building's about 110 years old. So obviously the laws have changed since then. So some of the upgrades we had to do was change the windows. We had to meet something called an egress, where someone has to be able to climb out of the window. Their entire body has to come out through the window. So if you notice, those windows are opening in one piece now. Before, they used to be double hung windows, kind of like the one that's off to the right hand side there at the bottom above the truck. And that's not enough for a person that's heavy set to get through. So the law requires in the city of Los Angeles to upgrade to a window that needs egress, so that people can escape through the windows. The plumbing had to be upgraded, the electricity had to be upgraded. Now the beams in the walls, a lot of them were 2 inches by 3 inches, which is no longer accepted. Now they want you to use 2x4 studs. So we had to replace those with 2x4s. The outlets now have to be about 15 inches off the floor, and there has to be one about every 12 feet. Basically about one on every wall and a bedroom. In the old days, you only had to have one outlet per bedroom. So those are just some of the stuff that we had to do to upgrade to keep up with the current laws. Now again, we had to hire an architect. We had to make plans for the entire house. We had to submit them to the city, and we had to get them approved. That process took about 3 months in itself. It took a long time going back and forth to the city for them to approve the plans. But once they approved the plans, that allowed us to pull a building permit and start actually working on the house. Now we're almost done, but we still have a lot of details to work on. I'm going to give you a tour through the house, and you're going to see that we got a lot of work done in about the last 5 weeks. We've basically had about 10 people working 7 days a week. We have one shift working in the morning between 7 and 8 a.m. till the afternoon when another shift starts, and the next shift works till about 11 or 12 at night, 7 days a week. Now, I decided to take over as the general contractor for this. Now, if it's your own home, in many cities, they'll allow you to pull the permits under your name, and you can do an owner builder permit. So they'll allow you to do the repairs on your home. If you're working on a multi-unit or a commercial property, then you can't do that. You have to get someone that's a licensed contractor to pull the permits and do the work for you. So luckily this is a single family residence, so I was able to pull the permits and do a lot of the work with guys that I hired and I'm supervising. So my job is the general contractor. As I have the guys working, I'm ferrying back and forth between our house and the hardware store, and I'm bringing truckloads and truckloads of supplies: drywall, wood, nails, screws, plaster, paints, electrical wiring, plumbing, you name it. I mean, hundreds of different stuff. New doors, roofing supplies, new windows, new floors. I mean, we pretty much had to rebuild the entire house. This house, as I mentioned in a previous video, had asbestos in it, as every house that's built before I think 1976. In the old days, we used to put asbestos in a lot of the plaster in the walls. There used to be lead in the paint. That's before 1976 actually, and all those things are toxic. So once you have a fire, all of that is exposed, and the city requires you to hire a company that can remove all that stuff safely. Otherwise you can have issues with toxic waste being spilt out, and that could be huge lawsuits and fines and everything else. So let me give you a tour through the house now. Trash is going to be huge. We spent about $8,000 or $9,000 just on trash removal, removing stuff from the property that was damaged, removing debris from excess building supplies. And you also have to be careful with your workers. You want to make sure you don't get into any legal problems. Here's the new plumbing. We got new windows here. We got new screens here for the basement. We've repaired some walls here that were cracked. You want to make sure that your workers are not working more hours than they're supposed to. You're paying them fairly. You're feeding them. You have water. You have bathroom. All that kind of stuff. So that you can get into issues with labor laws. Now this entire front end here was burned. It's just waiting to get repainted. You could see that all the roof we had to replace, and we're still working on it. We haven't finished painting all the molding there. Most of that has been replaced. And as the windows were burning on the second floor, they were vinyl, so they were throwing down pieces of melting plastic onto the window sills there. So we have to get all that stuff cleaned off there. That's still fire damage. Okay, so now we're gonna go inside. We redid all the electrical, all the plumbing. This house was down to the studs, so you can see how much better it looks now. And we put drywall, we put window moldings, crown moldings. All this room doesn't have the lights yet, but all the house is going to be upgraded to recessed lights. And we're still working on the floors. That's going to be the last phase. After you do the floors, you put the baseboards on, and then we're going to put the moldings around the doors. And this is a craftsman house. We try to retain a lot of that. This used to have a door here, which didn't make much sense, since there was already a door there. So we went ahead and removed the door and widened that entrance. So it made a grand entrance in the living room. In our living room here, you can see we made a coffered ceiling. I'm really proud of this because this house had a really nice coffered ceiling before, but it got destroyed with the water from the fire. So we had to completely rebuild this, and I wasn't really sure. None of the guys I hired knew how to make these. I had to look on the internet, and I had to figure out how to build the coffered ceiling. And of course you wanted to be structurally sound. And again, this is the only cool part about having a fire, is that you get to rebuild stuff so that it's to your liking and so it looks cool. So you can see this is going to add a lot of value to the property. It's going to make it a lot easier to rent or sell or flip or whatever you're trying to do. It's by adding architectural details like this. This wood around the windows is solid wood, and it adds a lot of value. In fact, when the insurance paid, if I would have had just regular molding from the Home Depot or some other hardware store, they would have paid like $100 for a window. But because it had solid wood casings, it paid something like $600 because it's craftsmanship. The interesting thing is that per square foot, this wood only costs about 25 cents. And it doesn't take very long to install, but obviously it is more labor than the regular molding that's already pre-made. Now, prefabricated moldings run about 60 cents a square foot in my area, so they're more than double. And it's just basically cardboard, and it doesn't add a lot of value to your home. These add a lot more value, and they look a lot nicer. You'll see them upstairs once we get to the upstairs where they're painted. Now, this had a low hanging ceiling there. We ended up shifting the support beams. You can still see at the top where there's support, and we just widened the entrance. We widened it and we increased the ceiling height. So it made the entrance there a lot higher. You can see the perspective there with someone standing in it. It's kind of like a grand entrance into the hallway and the stairs and everything else. So now this was a closet that went into the bedroom. We went ahead and sealed it off. It's pretty big. It can be used as a storage room, closet, or even like a guest room if somebody wanted. It's quite big. So this is the dining room. And again, there are the recessed lights that we installed. Let me turn those on so you can take a look at them. They look really nice. It adds a lot of curb appeal to the house. There are the wood casings here on the windows. Those add a lot of value to the house. And then this here was a wall. We went ahead and cut the wall out and did the same thing as we did in the living room. If you look on top, you'll see there's like a rafter going along the top there. That's a support beam. And what we did was we cut the wall out, and it added a lot of light to this area. The kitchen and the dining room here were really dark, and now they have a lot of light. So we cut the wall and we made a bar here. And this bar with granite, it only costs about $300 to add the granite there and have someone install it. So it was not very expensive, but now it gives us some more area. You can use this if you're having a party. You can use it for serving trays, or you can use it to eat at. It's a bar. And we pretty much use the same kitchen as before. That's why it looks so dirty. We're just trying to clean it up. We haven't quite painted it yet. We're still working on it. But we went ahead and just retrofitted it, made it look nice. Once it's painted, you'll see the final product. And we made a few upgrades to the kitchen that we wanted to do before in terms of crown molding, the recessed lights, and again, opening up this wall to bring some more light into this area here. It's much, much nicer. Now this hallway here, for some reason, again, a lot of the old houses, they have doorways on every hallway. That had a door there also. We removed the door and widened it. That makes it a lot easier to move appliances in. So think about that when you're rebuilding your house. make sure you're leaving enough room to move appliances and furniture in. Because this here also had a doorway. Remember, this was a wall and that was a doorway there. So that doorway was only 30 inches. So every time we moved a stove or a fridge or something like that, it was a real pain to get in there. So now I widened the doorway there by removing the door. I widened the entryway, and now it's 32 inches, which is much easier. Same thing with this one. This was 28 inches. It was a real pain to get through here. Now it's 32. 32 is ideal. And again, with your doors, like your front door, try to get it to a 36 inch. A lot of old houses have like 32 inch doors. That's going to be a real pain now with all the furniture and stuff. You want to make sure that you get like a 36 inch door. That'll make it easier for things to come through there. And when it comes to bedroom doors, well, this house had 28 inch bedroom doors. And again, that's terrible. That's really hard to get furniture in. So we cut all that down, widened the doorways, and we made them to 32 inches. That makes it a lot easier for the furniture to get through. Now Raimundo here is doing all the electrical work in case you need an electrician. And he does floors, he does pretty much everything you think of. And that's important, that you have people that you can trust, you can work with, that are reliable, so that you're able to get your work done quickly and get people back into your house renting, or you back in your house living, so that you're able to take advantage of the place or make the best of it. So here's the floors that just been sanded. And again, here's the new windows that have the required egress so that someone can escape in case there's a fire, along with the wood casings. And we use light colors, Navajo white and crown molding. Now, crown molding is not very expensive, but it adds a lot of appeal to bedrooms and living rooms and everything else. It's really nice. So I recommend getting crown molding. We pretty much put crown molding throughout the house, as you can see there. And we try to, since we had the opportunity, we widened as many of the windows as we could to bring additional light into the house. People like buildings that have a lot of light. So if you have the opportunity, widen the windows up. And again, the doors have all been widened. Now they're 32. Before, the tenants had 28s. They always used to give us the properties back with the doors all scratched up, dented, holes, etc., because they couldn't get their furniture in, because the old houses used these smaller doors. Now here you can see a lot of the fire damage is still here on the floors. All that's going to be pulled up and replaced. You might remember from the previous videos, all this was eaten up. It was completely destroyed. So all this has been rebuilt. The framing's been redone. The bathroom's been redone, retiled. We haven't quite installed all the toilet and the sink yet, but it looks, you can see all the trimming and the painting and everything that's been done. The French doors were melted, so they've been replaced. This balcony had been melted. The wood railings were burnt, so everything was replaced. In some cases, the wood looked like it was burned, but it wasn't burned. It was just smoked. It just had like smoke stains on it. So we just got some really good paint and we sealed it and then repainted it again, and it looked nice, just like it did before. Now all these doors were melted. This is actually the room where the fire started. So this is where the majority of the damage was. And this room has been completely rebuilt, except for the floor. We're still working on it. We still have some plywood there because of the substantial damage that was done here. We're gonna have to probably replace all of it. But you can see how nice how the ceilings look. We're installing the recessed lights, again, the wood casings, the crown molding. This room's gonna look really nice, just like all the other rooms. And here is another place, another bedroom. You see here again, crown molding, new windows, casings. Again, if you have to redo your house or rebuild it, just make the best of it and make make it more valuable, increase its sale value, or try to improve whatever you can to try to maximize your return on investment so that you're not wasting all your time. Like, this takes a lot of effort, so you never want to have to do this for fun. But since you're doing it, you want to make as many upgrades as you can. Now, we had a regular heater, water heater, and we went ahead and we upgraded. Here's some of the wood we used to support our work. And we installed a tankless water heater so that we were able to get that out of one of the rooms, and that increased our floor space. So that helped also. Again, so the last thing that we're working on here are floors. Here's some of our supplies. We've had to buy a lot of stuff. And we're working on our floors right now, painting some details. And then as soon as the floors are done, then we're gonna start installing the floor moldings and the door casings. And then the house is gonna be finished. And we'll make another video and we'll update you on how everything's going. So again, this is an unfortunate event, but make the best of it. And at least in our state, what happened was the owner got paid about $479,000 for the damages, but I think so far they've been able to do the repairs for about 70. So they ended up making some, or having some extra funds available to do upgrades to the building and bring it up to code. And that's it's actually pretty common that you try to rebuild your house and all of a sudden all these code upgrades get triggered. And the code upgrades are what eat up a lot of the cash that you get for your insurance. But try to get multiple bids, try to make sure that you're getting the most for your money. Use materials that are going to last a long time. Use people that are dependable. Don't pay people before the work is done, or that can cause you a bunch of headaches with people taking your money and not coming back. So avoid all that by just making sure you have everything in writing, making sure you're paying as work is completed, not before work is completed. And in my experience, I prefer to just buy the materials myself, because that's where a lot of times people will give you like a really low bid. You're like, wow, this guy's giving me a great price. But then they'll say, okay, but materials are separate. But when you buy the materials, they mark them up like double. A lot of contractors think they're like a retail place, so they mark it up. So I just get a list from the workers. I go to the hardware store, I put it in an order, and I usually just order truckloads of supplies. And it's usually about $70 for delivery, which isn't very much considering how many tons of materials they're bringing. It's not expensive at all, because you're using a crane to lift it and to unload it. So it would take you like 20 trips to do this on your own, so it's better to just pay someone. And again, here's the empty lot that we're going to be building on soon. You can see the stakes here from the surveyors. That's where the property lines are going to be for the new place that's going to be built. And here's the house again from the back view. So we're almost done. We're going for about 5 weeks, and we're hoping to be done maybe in the next 2 or 3 weeks. All right, so thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please comment below, and we're happy to answer from you. Thank you.